The oft-forgotten child of the Budokai franchise is Infinite World. Probably because it released way too late in the PS2's lifespan, and not on modern consoles at the time, because the PS3 had already released by the time Dragon Ball Z Infinite World had released. But it decided, let's not put it on the PS3, let's just leave it on the PS2. Plenty of people are still playing it, and they were right. Plenty of people were still playing PS2, plenty of people were still buying PS2, plenty of people were still enjoying PS2. Obviously, I have Infinite World. Did I enjoy it? Oh, my, yes. Did I play it as much as Budokai 3? Unfortunately, no. Do I enjoy it more than Budokai 3? Surprisingly, yes. Infinite World came out after they released the Shin Budokai games for the PSP. The Shin Budokai games had also refined the Budokai combat engine, the combat mechanics, and all of that good stuff. Now, let's take a look at the back and see if Dimps is on here. Dimps is still here. Dimps is the guys behind, I believe, Street Fighter 4. I'm not a big Street Fighter fan. The only experience I have with Street Fighter is a constant barrage of embarrassing defeats whenever I went to an arcade. I said, oh, there's Street Fighter 2. Let's see if I can win at least one fight this. Nope. Alright, move on. Then the next time I go to the arcade, alright, let's try it. Up. Nope. Alright, move on. And I never really understood the one button is just one attack. You just press X, 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 and he's just doing one light attack, one light attack, one light attack, and just, oh yeah, do all sorts of combination, button combos, and I have terrible memory with that stuff, you know. I'd be lucky to remember a single cheat code in a GTA game. I'd be lucky if I remember just one of them. So remembering all of these for all these fighting games, it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not happening. So thankfully, with the Budokai games, like I mentioned with Budokai 1, and probably previously mentioned on a breakdown of the Budokai games, is that, fortunately, the combat engine in these Budokai games are very simplistic. You have all of your punches tied to the square button, all of your kicks tied to the triangle button, all of your key attacks tied to the circle button, and X, I think, is like dash or block sometimes. So that's all you really needed. You just needed 4 simple mechanics, and you just play. For example, you could just press square 4 times, boom, 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 then you press circle, and Goku will do his Kamehameha. Punch, 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 Kamehameha. And then the 4 punches all have 4 unique animations, up to sometimes 4, sometimes even to 6 square button presses. Everybody's moveset animations had variation. There wasn't as much variation in Budokai 1, and that variation did not change into Budokai 2, but then the variation started to change in Budokai 3. All of the main characters who had a Dragon World story mode started to have unique movesets, unique animations, unique stances, and even some of the famous villains. Frieza and Cell, the Boos, they had unique stances, like when they stood up, when they were standing next to you, or standing against you on the enemy screen, their stance is not the generic stances you saw in Budokai 1 and 2. They were starting to be a little bit different. And when they started to attack, when you started to use their combinations and all sorts of stuff, their moveset animations would differentiate themselves from other characters. Piccolo, for example, can stretch his arms out, so he started to have some movesets where his arms would stretch out to punch the enemy. That's something unique only to him. So that was very, very interesting to see that. Tien often does his crane style super jabby jabs with his little fingers pointing like these. He's got that into his moveset now. That was very good. I liked seeing that. Yamcha sometimes did his wolf fang taki just howls and does all sorts of spins and all sorts of exaggerated movements, since Kami tells him he wastes his movements when he fights it. But we get to see all sorts of flashy stuff with him there, and that was added in there, so that was very fun to see with Yamcha as well. And there wasn't as much variation as I would have liked, but it was far more than I expected to see from the sequel to Budokai 2, because there wasn't much variation at all in Budokai 2, it was just a different graphic style. And then when we finally got into Infinite World, it kept the graphic style from Budokai 2 and Budokai 3, but it started to enhance the combat engine. It started to enhance the animation. More characters started to have unique stances. More characters started to have unique movesets when they attacked. Their combinations, even their charge attacks, and all sorts of things like that started to look more unique. More animations that only they would have into their repertoire that any other character would not do. All of 17's attacks looked different from Android's 18's attacks, etc., etc. And I really appreciated that. I really did enjoy that. There was, unfortunately, a lack in the story mode. It kind of pulled in a sort of fusion of Budokai 1 and 2's story, where you were on this game board just like Budokai 2 in the story mode, where you had Goku run around the map and click on various character icons to fight them. And that's all you really did. You just had Goku run to various character icons to fight them. That was it. That was all you got to do. And that was kind of boring. It was. And unfortunately, we didn't really have too much variation getting to use different characters for different fighting moments until after you unlocked them, and then you just went to first mode, and that's where you got to use the other characters. It was unfortunate that we didn't have too many cool bonus modes or anything like that. Infinite World doesn't really have a lifespan that would outside of its incredible roster. Infinite World adds the most characters in this Budokai engine style. Infinite World has the most playable characters out of all of them. But Budokai 3 still has Kid Oob as an exclusive. There is no other game in the entire franchise, with the possible exception of maybe that card game, Dragonball Heroes, that is exclusive to arcade cabinets in Japan, that uses Budokai 3 style graphics for their engine. He might be playable in that, but in regards to console-based games that came out in North America, Budokai 3 is the only one where you can play as Kid Oob. But Infinite World does add a bunch more characters, and some exclusive characters that have never been seen outside of this game. For example, Infinite World adds in GT Vegeta. GT Vegeta, unfortunately, has the exact same moveset as regular Vegeta. He just has some different special attacks that do grant him some unique animations, but for the most part, he is just the Vegeta model, slightly redone. His hair is shorter, like his GT model, GT self looks like, but he doesn't really have any unique lines of dialogue when he opens or closes his battle. It's just the same thing as regular Vegeta, but I'm glad to see him. That's the thing, is that I'm glad to see a character added into the game that wasn't in previous games. There was a lot of GT support in Infinite World that I was really happy to see. We got to see Super 17 added in. We got to see Super Baby Vegeta added in. We got to see Omega Shenron, Sin Shenron. So that was all very nice. Pan, I think, was also added in here. Pan, yeah, Pan. I think Pan was in here. That was fantastic to see. It was cool. We sadly didn't get GT Trunks. Honestly, you could have just put GT Trunks as a outfit change for future Trunks, and that's all you really needed, and he would have been fine. GT Goten, unfortunately, he's not here, but we got more characters. That's the point of the new installment. We refined the engine, and we added new characters. That's all we can really expect from these new installments. Unfortunately, it just doesn't stand out like Budokai 3 did. Marketing-wise, especially, this thing had an invisible marketing campaign. I didn't even know it existed until I saw it on shelves. I was like, alright, we gotta get this. It's Dragon Ball Z. I gotta add that to my collection. And if it's a Dragon Ball Z title, I have to have it. But it's like, where was the marketing for this thing? Was it on cable TV? I don't know. I probably may have stopped watching cable around the time this game came out, so I may have missed it. video stores were dying out. Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, they were all dying out around this time. So I wasn't going to those places, so I didn't know if there was any advertising on these games in those stores or not, if they were still around. So yeah, it was very unfortunate that we didn't really have a big campaign like this one. Budokai 3 shaked the whole stage. It really smashed its way into the video game sphere. It was a big deal in many video stores like Blockbuster. I told the story about how I ended up taking home one of those big giant Budokai 3 posters that they put on the windows at a Blockbuster. They were taking it down after their advertising campaign ended. They were just going to toss it into the dumpster, and I said, hey, that thing is intact. It's very good looking. Can I have it? And they just gave it to me. I had it for years. Unfortunately, I lost it in the move, but I was very fortunate to have that thing. It was very awesome. It was a very awesome part of my childhood memories of being able to have that thing, checking out this huge marketing campaign for Budokai 3 and being a part of it in some way. And I just didn't see that with Infinite World. I didn't see it anywhere. It was just a game that they released. And that's probably why nobody talks about Infinite World, is that it just wasn't that big of an impact in their lives like Budokai 3 was, like Tenkaichi 3 was. Infinite World is just an addition to the series. If they had continued this series and made an Infinite World 2 on the PS3, maybe things would have been different. But by this time, Burst Limit had come out for the PS3, which is a fantastic looking game, by the way. It is the ultimate Budokai experience, even if it doesn't have any of the Buu Saga characters, none of the movie characters, none of the GT characters. It's just the main series, Dragon Ball Z, Saiyan Saga, Frieza Saga, and Cell Saga. Just those 3 arcs and the characters within them, but it's very tightly defined. Every character is tightly defined. It was made by the guys who did Street Fighter 4. They refined the engine to the ultimate experience, and unfortunately they got busy with other games. So we never got a Burst Limit 2. We never got an Infinite World 2. We should have. We really should have.